When he started working at the NRA, there was no such thing as right to carry in this country, and the Second Amendment was a second-class freedom. Almost 4 decades later, the right to keep and bear arms has been expanded beyond what anyone back then thought possible, and he's still fighting. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in a warm welcome for the NRA's Executive Vice President and CEO, Wayne LaPierre.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much to all of you. Let me start out by saying a few things about our country that I think you all know. You know, we as Americans, we breathe freer air. We live freer lives. We have more opportunity from the day we are born than anyone else on the face of the planet. The USA, our country, is the greatest country in the history of mankind. And that's because of the freedoms that we have in the Bill of Rights and in the United States Constitution. The USA, and think about this, it's the first country in history that was founded not on a race, not on a religion, and not on some royalty, but on a set of God-given principles that we call inalienable rights. Our country is about liberty. And that's why to this day, the Bill of Rights is the first document of the United States Legal Code. Our rights are not privileges that are granted to us by the government. Our rights are freedoms that we own as individuals that are protected from government intrusion. Our founding fathers, they suffered under King George. They knew what tyranny was. And in this new country, they wanted to make sure that no one would ever have to suffer that type of hardship again, that no American would ever be subjugated. So they wrote into our Bill of Rights the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution. That's right. And they also knew something else, that you're not really free if you can't defend yourself. There are hundreds and thousands of stories that illustrate that point. I remember sitting in my office, I got a call from a flight attendant in Texas that she said the right to carry law we passed in Texas had saved her life. I remember another woman coming up to me telling me that she wasn't even really with us on this issue until after Hurricane Sandy, when she was sitting alone in the dark and scared to death. And after that, she went out and bought a firearm, she took training, and she joined the National Rifle Association. I remember another gentleman calling me up after a natural disaster, and he's saying, Wayne, you know, all those elite politicians in Washington that are trying to ban my gun, they ought to come down here right now and walk around in my shoes, and they'd be happy I'm here with my gun protecting them. I thank each and every one of you together, and I look around this room, I go back a lot of you with 10, 20, 30, 40 years, to tell you the honest truth. And together, we've made possible in this country an historic restoration of our freedoms. And we've done it together, all of us, through the National Rifle Association. Just think about the history for a minute. When we started out, you couldn't travel from one part of the country without being sure you were breaking the law. We passed a law saying if you're legal where you start out, legal where you end up, you can travel. We passed the McClure-Volcker Bill, rewriting the entire 1968 Gun Control Act that has saved our freedoms till today, what we did. We also passed preemption bills. So if you're in a state, every city or town can't pass some different gun law. So you get this crazy patchwork quilt of laws where you couldn't even maneuver around your own state. We passed hunter harassment laws, range protection laws. We also passed emergency power laws like Congressman Scalise talked about, where they never, ever, ever can do what they did in New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina, where they went into people's homes when they needed their firearms their most, and law enforcement had completely broken down and they confiscated their guns. We passed a law saying that could never again happen in the USA. We also armed Americans airline pilots. We made it possible for retired police officers to carry their guns. We passed Castle Doctrine laws, and together we saved the American firearms industry by passing bills to stop those predatory lawsuits that would have driven every American firearms manufacturer out of business, and that you would never have to face evil with bare hands. And we passed right-to-carry laws, as I said, in 40-some states now. Marion Hammer, if you're here, I remember and you remember when we started this in the early 80s, we only had 3 states with decent right-to-carry laws. Now we have 40-some. And finally, the historic Heller and McDonald's decisions that reaffirmed what our founding fathers wrote into the Bill of Rights, that the Second Amendment is not the government, it's your individual right, and that's what it's all about. That all amounts to a brick-by-brick restoration of this freedom. And it was accomplished by you, by people like you all over this country. It wouldn't have happened without us. Without us, we wouldn't have had President Trump. We wouldn't have had George W. Bush. I mean, there's not another organization in the country that is directly responsible because of the influence we all have as American citizens that stand for the Second Amendment, of delivering those states like Pennsylvania and Wisconsin and Ohio and Michigan and all those states that made the difference. And just think what that did. The hundreds of judicial appointments you just heard the presidents talk about, and Gorsuch and Kavanaugh, that are all going to protect your freedom for generations. It could have all been lost, like has happened in so many of these other countries that you and I shake our heads about. But together, we saved it, each one of us. You know, after it's all said and done, I think all of this debate comes down to 3 basic points, if you ask me. First is, there are about 25,000 violent crimes a week in this country. The 911 calls are horrible. You've heard them, I've heard them. Every police officer hears them. The statistics are numbing. The innocent are being preyed upon. Who's going to protect us but ourselves? Why should we give up our right to survive? I want a say in my own destiny. That's what Americans think. And by not arresting, prosecuting, and incarcerating the violent criminals, the political class abdicates its responsibility to protect anyone. So we're not going to give up or apologize that in a dangerous world, the Second Amendment is often all we have. Second, the only time government really stops crime is it gets lucky or it's coincidence. Despite all the good intentions of our police officers and our first responders, and we love them all, and they're the greatest Americans in this country. But the truth is, at the scene of the crime, and you know it, it's the criminal and the victim. That's who's there. When seconds matter, the police are minutes away. In fact, the average response time is 11 minutes. Instant response is better than first responders. And all human society is best served when good people can protect themselves. At the very root of American consciousness in this country, people all over this country, it's common sense. They say, I have a right to defend myself, and that freedom is worth defending. And the third one, and I know you shake your head about this, and I shake my head about it, and we all go, what a bunch of hypocrites, is the hypocrisy of the elites. They all defend themselves with security systems, armed protection, or gaming the system to get a permit, where if you're a celebrity, or you're a 300 hitter with the New York Mets, or you're a Wall Street executive, or you're a friend of the mayor, they get all the permits they want. Well, we at the NRA, we're not about the celebrity. We're not about those who have contact and connections with the mayor. I promise you, we're never going to stop fighting for your right and folks just like you all over America to have the right to defend themselves. You know, I still remember, just like yesterday, a video of that African-American woman. She was probably 68, 69 years old. She was a reverend, actually. And she was sitting on her porch after Hurricane Katrina. And someone in the media walked up to her with a camera, and they said, "Are you okay?" And she paused for just a minute. And then you know what she said? She said, "Yeah, I'm okay. I have my Bible, and I have my gun. I'm fine." You know, our strength is in the hearts of Americans just like her all over this country. Heck, the honest truth is, without you and without folks like you all over the country, they would throw all of us, me and everybody else up here on the stage, out of Washington, D.C. in 5 minutes, and don't think they wouldn't like to do it. And so to the political class and the media class, I say, if you don't care about our Second Amendment right to defend ourselves, you don't care about us at all, and we know it. We're on to you. It's you that make it all possible. And I mean that with all my heart. You work hard, you work to make ends meet, you volunteer in your schools and your churches, you stand up for what's right, and you are ever faithful and hopeful to your course. You all practice charity and honesty, and you try to follow that golden rule that we learned when we were children. You all fear for our country. And I know as I get older, it happens every day, I shake my head and I go, what the heck is going wrong in our country? You worry about our kids, and you worry about their future. And through it all, you support your NRA, and you stand for your freedom in incredible ways. When I'm out there traveling, and I'm out there every week somewhere, people walk up to me and say, "Wayne, I don't know how you do it with all the hate and all the bias in the media and all the dishonest politics. I don't know how you keep going." Well, I'll tell you, the only reason I can keep up this fight is because of you, because of your leadership, because of what's in your hearts, because of what you believe and the way you live your lives every day. I don't have to fire you up or tell you what to do or tell you how to vote. You already have that fire in your belly. You have that compass in your heart that guides you, that guides America to the North Star of freedom. You inspire me. You fire me up. You keep me going. So I thought about what I wanted to do here today, And what I really wanted to do was take a few minutes to show you how, by introducing you to some amazing NRA members that you'll never see in the media, amazing Americans that really are who we are and why we have strength and why we win and why we are able to save America. Not long ago, I met Fred Crable at a Friends of the NRA dinner in Florida. It was Haines, Florida. Fred told me, he came up to me, and he told me about his wife, Jan. She was a big fan of the NRA. She had signed up for an NRA Life membership because she believed in our organization so much, and she was paying for it in installments. She was also receiving chemo treatment for cancer. Well, sadly, Jan passed away. But then Fred told me something. He said, because she believes so strongly in the NRA and our freedom and what we represent through this organization, he went on to fulfill his wife's life membership to honor Jan as an act in her honor. So to honor Fred, please give a big welcome to Fred Crable, and let's bring him out here right now. Every one of these Americans are what we're about. Some of you may know John Boner, since he lives about an hour away from here in Whiteland, Indiana. He lives in a cabin in the woods. But you know what? He volunteers for every Friends of the NRA dinner. Even after losing part of his foot to diabetes, that hadn't slowed him down. He loves his country, he loves his freedom, and he loves the NRA. Please welcome John Boner. I learned a long time ago not to mess with a grandmother. And when Chicago refused to allow gun ranges in the city, this grandma went to federal court and she won. She's a proud mom, a grandmom, and founder of Chicago Guns Matter. NRA Life member Rhonda Ezell. Rhonda, come on out. And I told her we're gonna all work with her to make sure that gun range gets built in Chicago, where honest people can go and learn to protect themselves. Now meet an amazing young man. His family immigrated from Poland in 1993. And all of them, his brother, his dad, his mom, they're all NRA members. He received a Youth Education Summit Scholarship. He's an active volunteer with Rockford, Illinois Police Department. He loves his shooting sports and his American freedom. Please welcome Christoph Gaida and his mother Christine and his brother Marcin, a Boy Scout. Our next couple tragically lost their home to the devastation of Hurricane Harvey. Imagine that for a moment. They lost their entire home, but they didn't lose their spirit. And even as they rebuild while living in an apartment, they never miss a Friends of the NRA dinner. Sarah says her commitment to volunteering for the NRA is in honor of her father, Dean Coleman, an NRA Life member, a Navy vet of World War II, who taught Sarah how to safely use a firearm, and he also ingrained in her to cherish her freedom. Please welcome, here from Texas, Sarah and Kenny Lamb. All right, you got to meet Vera and Carlos Koo from California. After a camping trip, Vera wanted to learn how to shoot. You see, she was afraid of bear attacks. And she was also scared of guns because she had never much as held one before. Carlos gave her his full support, as he always does, and was by her side. At the age of 47, Vera got into competitive shooting. Folks, Vera is the first and only woman in history to win both national women's titles at the NRA Bianchi Cup. She's won 2 world shooting titles and has become a great mentor to young women all over this country. Please give a hand to a great couple, Vera and Carlos Koo. You know, often commitment and character presents itself in times of turmoil. Jerry Black owns his own concrete company in North Carolina. He loves the NRA, and he religiously sells over 300 tickets a year to his Friends of the NRA dinner. I was there down in Lenoir, North Carolina at it, in fact, a few weeks ago. A couple weeks before that dinner, Jerry collapsed at work, and he was rushed to the emergency room because his lung collapsed. But they all told me that night, even while being treated from his hospital bed, Jerry was selling tickets to the upcoming Friends of the NRA dinner that I ended up attending. And while his COPD breathing disorder remains, so does his character, and so does his commitment to freedom and the cause. Please welcome Jerry and Sue Black. And I got one more NRA hero to introduce to you. He's here with his wife, Nicole, and their beautiful daughter, Kennedy. He truly believes that firearms in the hands of good guys all keep us safer. And he joined the NRA to protect our freedom, to protect ourselves. And he ought to know, because he walks the thin blue line as a New York police officer. For his service and his commitment, please give a big and hearty welcome to Chris, an NRA Life member and a New York police officer. Come on out, Chris. And his family. These are the true heroes. These folks, like you, are why the NRA succeeds. It's what we're all about. We hold faith in our country, our families, and our freedom. We will never back away from our resolve to defend our rights and the rights of all law-abiding gun owners. And we will never fear an absolute declaration that the Second Amendment, we know it, we're going to preserve it as an unfettered natural right, fully accessible to every American citizen. And if the media doesn't like it, you know where they can go? They can go straight all the way back to Concord Bridge and take a flying leap. But they're going to keep demonizing gun owners. They're going to keep calling us every name in the book. They're going to keep lying about us, ignoring us. And so with your help today and all these great folks that you've just met, let's give them a real clear view of who we all are. When I describe you, I want you to stand up and I want you to remain standing. How many police officers do we have here today? Please stand up. If you're currently serving in law enforcement or you're a retired officer, please stand. You protect us, you protect our streets and our communities, and thank you. Please remain standing. How many nurses or doctors are out there in the audience? Please stand. Stand if you're a nurse or a doctor or a hospital administrator or a pharmacist, and remain standing. In fact, anyone who works in healthcare in any way, stand up. And thanks for taking care of us. How about any teachers in the audience? We have any teachers out there? Stand up. Thank you very much. Anyone who works in education, stand up and remain standing. Thanks for all you do every day for our children. And if you're a student, stand and join them. Education is so important. And by gosh, we're proud of you, all you young people that are here. If you work in manufacturing, construction, stand up and join those already recognized, and thank you. If you work in a trade, maybe a plumber, an electrician, a roofer, a contractor, a truck driver, or any other trade, stand up. You keep America working and running, and we thank you. And how about stay-at-home moms? You do so much for our families and our homes and our children. Please stand up and let me thank you. If you own your own business, stand up. Or anyone in retail or a local grocery, stand up. How about any firefighters out there? And I know they're out there. I talked to a bunch of them. Stand up and thank you for running into the fire on our behalf. And how about the brave men and women who serve in our armed forces? If you're in the military or a vet, join those standing. You have made, and thank you, the great sacrifice that comes with defending freedom abroad and here at home. God bless you. We thank you. Do you attend your church? Donate to your charity. Volunteer for Little League or soccer. Or love your community. Respect local authorities. Do you obey the law? Stand up and be recognized as Americans. We're proud of you and your country and what it stands for. So tell me something. Are you proud of your freedom? Stand up and be counted then. I want all the media to look around this room right now and see us for the American people that we truly are. See us standing here today as to who we are and start to tell it straight. And let me make it crystal clear. We are law-abiding Americans who believe liberty is a blessing, not bestowed by government, but by God, our Creator, that must be preserved for future generations. And the media and the political elites can lie and demonize us all they want, but that's not going to stop us. Because we are standing today in this stadium for who we really are. We are Americans. We are patriots. We love our country. We are going to defend our freedom, and we will always stand and fight for America. God bless every one of you here today, every one of you up on stage. God bless you, and keep fighting for freedom and standing and fighting every day. Thank you very much, and thank you to everyone on stage and all of you here today and folks like you watching all over America. God bless you. Thank you.